Welcome to Tuesday Talks, the best young entrepreneur video series that focuses on interviewing successful young entrepreneurs and learning what makes them successful. Welcome, Josue. We are happy to have you on the show today. We are excited to hear your story. And in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you some questions that we know our audience would love to hear about and learn from. But first, would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Josue Llanas. I'm 28 now. I started kind of my career, I guess, progression. I was an engineer for about 3-4 years after college. I did electrical engineering from the University of Texas, Pan American. It's a satellite school of UT. But I did that. I traveled all across the country, and I was inspecting pipelines. And during this travel, I just started doing a lot of reading and really educating myself on personal development, and mainly real estate. Though that was the one key thing that I wanted to make sure that I was going to be in. And so I started wholesaling in 2018 was when I started actually proactively marketing. It took me a while before I got my first deal. I went ahead and actually scaled up my business, and then probably a couple months back, I just decided, hey, you know what? Scaling too fast doesn't work. I need to do it in a very proactive manner. So now we're just wholesaling, but now I'm focused more on profitability rather than rather than just volume, right? You can do a lot of volume, but if your profit margins are really relatively low, I mean, I might as well just be doing less deals, but
Yeah.
keeping more of that money, right? So that's what we're focused on doing now, and we're primarily focused on wholesaling. But my business partner and I, we have a bigger model of not necessarily creating a wholesaling company, but an acquisitions company that's constantly looking for properties so we could add to our portfolio.
Okay.
Um, Short term, we're looking at just owner financing, and then long term, we're looking at commercial investments. I know that was a long-winded intro there.
No, that's all right. That's good. Um,
Awesome.
so we're just gonna get jumping into the questions. So first question is, did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I remember being probably, I think, fourth or fifth grade. Um, I actually live in South Texas. I was born and raised down there, and so on the weekends we would go visit family in Mexico. And I figured out that I could get this big bag of candy, Mexican candy, right? And I can get it for around maybe a buck 50, $2, and I had like 50, maybe 100. I don't remember how many, but the profit margins were really insane. Like I could buy a big bag of candy bags and candy lollipops, and then
Yeah.
come over to the U.S. and sell them for 50 cents, whatever. Um, and I mean, I'd make like $2. I'd convert $2 to $50, right? And so I figured out from a very early age, I'm like, okay, I need to do this long term, right? And I think I even got trouble with the principal office and everything. Um, but yeah, and ever since maybe I mean, I might have been like 17, 18. I didn't want to go to college, but my mom kind of like put me that path, and she's like, no, you're gonna get a college degree. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll knock it out. But I feel like I've always known that I wanted to own my own business for sure.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So next question. If you could go back to 16-year-old you, 16-year-old Josue, and give him some advice, what would it be?
Uh, I would say just start earlier. You're gonna face a lot of uphill challenges and battles, right? I
Yeah.
think that it comes with the territory, man. I think it's a lot of people, especially like on social media, they like to really and it's just what it is. I mean, it just comes with the territory, right? On social media, it's like you just portray your highlight reel of all the positive things that you're doing in your life, right? But you're not really conveying the struggles of everyday life. But I think it's in those struggles where you really learn the most. It's not in I feel like when you get to the top of the mountain, you're like, yeah, yeah, you start, cheering, but then that only lasts so long. Then, okay, what's the next mountaintop, right? What's the next goal that I'm going to conquer? And I feel like the earlier you start off, the sooner off you'll be at facing those uphill challenges,
Mm.
getting used to the process, getting used to rejection, getting used to failing. As the quicker that you start understanding that failure is part of the process, then you start realizing that, okay, I need to fail more, right? I mean, for me in my business now, it means like I need to fail 20 sometimes before I get a contract, right? I need to negotiate with 20 people over the phone. I need to meet them in person, whatever I have to do, but I need to talk to at least 20 people before I get one contract. That means I need to get rejected 20 sometimes before I'm able to make any money, right? So the sooner that you start getting used to rejection, I think the better off you'll be. And just start taking action. And what you're
Yeah,
doing even right now, I think is great, man. I think it's a great idea, and I wish you all the best, and I hope it really goes. Just keep on going. I'd really
thanks.
say, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just all comes down to like your mindset of like if you hear the first no, you just got to keep pushing. Like you're gonna hit those valleys, but you just got to be focused more on the peak. You know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and even when you hit those peaks, when you understand that it's part, even like you look at the stock market, the stock market doesn't just go straight up,
Yeah,
right? It goes up and then it goes down and then up a little bit more and then up and down a little bit. It's part of the process in everything in life in general. So
yeah.
don't try to um, there's a quote that I like: "What you resist persists." So don't try to resist that those valleys. Just learn to embrace them and even enjoy them. I now and like so I started getting really into health and fitness, and I now enjoy whenever I'm sore. Right?
Yeah.
You start enjoying it. You start really diving into it and really liking feeling the soreness because you know that that's your body working.
So
So
what was that code again? If you resist, what's
whatever you resist persists.
wow, that's good.
If you resist something, your mind just, I feel like, automatically starts like gravitating towards it, without your subconscious. Now it's like, since it's trying to fight it, now you're like more like just to come to like gravitate towards it. But if you just accept it and you embrace it and you just learn that it's part of the process, then after some time it just goes away, you know
Hmm. Okay, so
so
who are your top three mentors?
top three mentors.
Top three.
uh I'd say Robert Kiyosaki is probably top three. I don't want to classify them, but I'd say Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, and I'd say David Goggins are my top three.
And like
Um,
how did they affect you? Like you know what I mean?
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Robert Kiyosaki, he teaches a lot about money, right? Wealth. He teaches um, the mindset that you have to have when it comes to wealth and protecting your own wealth. Um, he's very much he's very strongly opinionated towards the education. Sorry, not the education, the monetary system in America. He doesn't believe like even in he doesn't even have confidence in the American government that it's going to that the American dollar is going to be good forever, right? I mean, and if you look at inflation rates, if you look at the value of the US dollar and how much purchasing power you have with $1 today versus in the 1960 when it was taken off the gold standard, the value of the dollar has been declining tremendously. So I feel like he teaches a lot about that, and he's very far-fetched, right? He's very, sometimes people would call him pessimistic, but I think it's more so you have to have that understanding on both sides of the equation. Let's be both pessimistic and optimistic, so you can understand the whole spectrum and then make decisions today based on what's really going on in the marketplace.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then Tony Robbins, I feel like it's more mindset. He's more motivation, making sure that you're constantly focused on yourself. Um, and David Goggins, I really love because he just kicks your ass, right? I feel like sometimes we all need an ass kicking, and he's not scared to say it how it is. Um, sometimes I love I guess the way that he portrays his message. It's like, hey, listen, if you're just sitting at home and you know you have to get up and go work out, or you know you have to go get up and go do this podcast, but you don't feel like it, you like, hey, you're being a lazy ass. You're being, you're being a punk right now.
Yeah.
You need to get up and go out and do something with your life, right? Because at the end of the day, the only thing we have control over is our actions, right? We have control over our thoughts, our minds dictate our actions that we take. And going further than that, now I'm realizing that now it's the habits that really dictate your entire lifestyle. Your habits really are going to dictate what kind of lifestyle, what kind of life you live. If you have good habits, good spending habits, if you have good health habits, good work ethic, good work habits, then you're going to have a very successful and very happy life. So
Yeah. Um, like going back to that, like what I do for like when I have like something that I think like is bad, like working out, like not like bad, but like what I like don't want to do. I
mm,
like I put something that's meant to like make me feel better. Like I'll give it like a little success to it.
yeah,
I'll give myself a little piece of candy or something like that. For so I feel like I want to like work out because then after I work out, then I can have that. You know what I mean?
mm, yeah, okay,
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Like I've been incorporating that into like different things of like my bad mindset towards working out or like having a podcast. Like I'll switch it with, oh, you're having a podcast, you can have coffee now. You can if you're working out, you can have this piece of candy. You know.
yeah. That's a
So
really good way to see it.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think you need to have both in different scenarios, right?
yeah,
And at the end of the day, you're gonna use whatever works for you. For me, I feel like it works out for me kicking my own ass. For
hmm
some people, I've talked to. I feel like for women, it especially some. I'm not saying all women, but I mean some girls that I've talked to, they say, oh, you know what, maybe that seems like you're being too hard on yourself, right? But
yeah,
I like being hard on myself. I really like being hard on myself. So then, whenever I feel like I'm being hard on myself, then I feel like, okay, um, I should go do it, and I just get up and get it done, right? So.
okay. So next question: how do you manage discouragement when things are not working out?
How do I manage discouragement when things are not working out? Um, I think I just embrace it, to be honest.
Hmm,
Uh, in the past, it's been I feel like if you don't know how to manage it, that's where it kind of leads you down this downward spiral of out of control and depression and all these negative emotions, right? So I
yeah,
feel like if you just know that it's gonna happen, if you're aware, I was having a conversation the other today with a friend, and he was telling me, that when he was very young, he used to have a lot of bad anxiety about death, and like he thought like, oh, I'm gonna die, and he'd get all depressed and anxious about death. Um, and then we were talking about it, and we both said, hey, it's a part of life, right? It's something that's going to happen. You have to accept it. When he started accepting that he's going to die one day, like we all will, then he was able to get liberated from it, and he wasn't so anxious about it anymore. I feel like whenever how I handle discouragement is I just learn to accept it, and then know that it's only temporary, right?
yeah,
It's like whenever there's like a cloudy day outside, you look outside and it feels gloomy, and it feels like, man, the world's not going my way. Everything's going to pieces, whatever, whatever. But if you know that there's a blue sky up there that's going to show up tomorrow whenever the clouds go away, then you realize that it's temporary.
hmm,
If you just know that it's temporary, you're going to be okay.
that's good.
And we can handle any storm that goes our way. Um, I've been through plenty of them already at this point. um, but I think just knowing that, um, through the whole process, obviously you're going to be upset. You're going to be, I mean, you're going to be in pain, but it's only temporary. Just know that you're going to bounce back.
Yeah. Okay, so what are some of your long-term goals? This is like a two-part question. So what are some of your long-term goals and what are you doing to prepare to stay successful during this changing time?
I'd say my long-term goals are to really, for me, mainly it's going to be not just, I don't want to just say one goal because I have many goals, right? But I think it's more so about creating the ideal life that you want, right? A life that you're excited to get up every day, right? And I have wealth goals, so I want to achieve. Um, I have personal goals with relationships in my family. You know, for example, like with my family members, I feel like one of my passions is teaching my family members what I've learned. You know, talking to my mom, who she's the first. She is an immigrant from Mexico, right? And so she didn't have access to all of this, a wealth of education and knowledge and resources that we have here in the U.S. And every time that I talk to her about what I'm learning in terms of being able to buy assets with little cash out of pocket, or what you can do to leverage your credit, you know, every time I talk to her, I just see her eyes just lighten up and brighten up, and that brings me a lot of satisfaction. So for me, being able to do that for my family members, that's one of my, even a long-term goal. But if I can do that long-term with even more people, that's going to be another one of my
Mm,
long-term goals. I have goals with health, you know, traveling. um, I'd say that making an impact on as many people as I can is probably one of my longer term goals,
yeah.
right? I'd say like 10, 20 years down the line. I feel like you really need to start looking at your life in that wide of a spectrum and understand where you're at in that cycle.
Mm.
Sorry, and what was the second part of the question?
What are you doing to stay to prepare to stay successful during this changing time?
I think it boils down to mindset. It literally boils down to mindset, because it doesn't matter what the price of the dollar is today or tomorrow. If the dollar was to crash tomorrow, that's fine. I'll just go barter in coins, you know. And
Yeah.
as long as I can, as long as I keep my skill set of being able to negotiate, of being able to bring happiness to people or solve people's problems, then I know that I'm going to be okay, right? Because if we're trading tomorrow with gold and silver, or we're trading with crypto, or we're trading with whatever, as long as I have that mindset of let me go out and impact as many people as possible, I'm going to be okay.
Okay.
Make
That's good.
sense? Yeah.
That's great.
That- Yeah, and staying positive, man. I think it's so easy to be negative. It's so easy to be, oh, you know, oh, it's the world's burning down. Oh, you know, this is gonna happen. It's so easy to fall into that pit. But as long as you stay positive, nothing else matters. You know,
Yeah.
you'll find solutions where everyone else is finding problems.
Yeah. And as long as you have that long-term goal in mind, that every step, every day that you're just working towards that, then I feel like you will you'll have that mindset and just you'll be fine through that, you know?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Yeah.
So last question, probably the hardest question. If you could pick any superpower, what would it be and why?
If I could pick any superpower,
Any superpower.
man, that's a tough question. I've thought about this one in the past, you know, something cool like seeing through walls, but then I don't want to see stuff that I shouldn't be seeing. So I'm like, nah, you know what? I don't want that one. Uh Honestly, I would pick flying. Being able to fly, I think is uh being able to go through clouds, stuff like that, that sounds really cool, you
That is
know?
cool.
Plus, like, you know, anytime that you're like flying on a plane or anything like that, I look out the window and I'm like, man, it'd be real nice to be out there on the feeling this wind right now. Yeah.
All right,
So
man.
I guess that's it.
All right. As always, today's show is super valuable. I just want to thank you, Josue, for sharing your experience and your time with us today.
Mhm. Absolutely, man. It was my pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for everything. Thanks.